There, and welcome to my live guide about literary analysis, resources, and research. To begin my presentation, I am just going to go over really quickly kind of some of the things I talked about in my proposal, what I ended up including, what I didn't end up including, just to get that kind of out of the way. This is the same topic from my live guide proposal, literary analysis. My intention with this guide, as it says in my little description right here, is to inform about and aid in the crafting of literary analysis papers. This can be a very challenging genre of writing for a lot of people to grasp, especially as first-year literature students who maybe weren't in college preparatory literature classes in high school, as well as a very helpful tool for people who just need a quick reminder, quick sources, just access to things at the touch of their fingertips for the specific genre of writing. I was a literary studies major for my undergrad, and so this kind of was something that really interested me in helping with. I did list two specific classes at USF, Lit 2000 and Lit 3014, as particularly classes that would be helped. Something that I talked about in my proposal that I did not end up including are examples of literary analyses, and that is because I didn't want to put any student examples because I don't really have access to those, and I don't want to put my work on there. And then if I put professional examples, it kind of gives something a little bit unattainable for an undergraduate student. It's not fair. So I've just included a lot of resources for people to be able to gain ideas, to gain understanding, and kind of go from there. So on this homepage, I have a welcome note for anybody who stumbles across it. I took the outline of this from I think I found there were a couple other live guides that I saw on the USF page that looked similarly on the front, and so I thought this would be a nice layout. I picked the Library of Congress call numbers, anything that might apply to anything with literary analysis, right? So all the way from theory, philosophy, and aesthetics to dictionaries and other reference works, just because, you're going to use all of these under the sun in order to write a literary analysis paper. Additionally, I went through so many subject headers and found many that apply, different theories, English literature, English poetry, the different time periods, history and criticism, to kind of help with that as well. So next up, I have my basic writing tools tab. And so this is one of my most helpful, I think. First up, I have Spark charts. These are something that I use in my classroom as a 12th grade English teacher. And so Spark charts are particularly helpful when it comes to quick knowledge that you need. And so these links I have for the literary term Spark chart, essay and term paper Spark chart, and English composition Spark chart. These are something that you'd have to purchase. So if you press this link, it does take you to the Barnes & Noble link where you can purchase it. And you can kind of open up the picture and see what it's all about. It's like a foldable pamphlet kind of deal. It's 3-hole punch, a wonderful resource that I wanted people to be able to have. Next, I have formatting manuals. So I have the big 3 formatting manuals, especially for people who will be writing literary analysis. I doubt they'd be writing outside of these 3. So I have the link to the MLA Handbook, Edition 9, the Edition 7 of the APA Handbook, and the Chicago 17th edition. And so I've explained kind of that the MLA is the most common formatting for English and literature majors, and that the Chicago Manual of Style has information past just the manual on grammar, punctuation, etc., which is a really great tool. On my right here, I have 4 writing resources. First up, we have the all-powerful Purdue OWL that helps with MLA and APA formatting. Next up, I have a link to the USF Writing Studio. So this brings you right over to that website where you are able to make appointments for writing consultations. I did used to work at the Writing Studio, and it is a wonderful resource for anyone looking to gain some extra insight on their writing, regardless of what topic they're writing under. However, there are typically English majors over there, so they do have experience with that literary analysis element. Next up, I have a link to Citation Machine. This helps people get a starter for their bibliography. However, I do always recommend that people double check it with the manual just to make sure everything is synced. And lastly, I have Grammarly linked. This is something that, professors encourage, advisors encourage. This is a great tool, a free tool that you can link to your browser, to Google Docs, to Microsoft Word, to help you with basic grammatical and punctuation mistakes in your writing. So moving on from the basic writing tools, I have the literary analysis section. And so this is kind of tools for research and tools on how to read the literature. So I have a series of books came out about how to read literature like a professor. There's one for poetry and there's one for novels as well. These are highly recommended books. I also used to work at Barnes & Noble. These were checked out all the time by college students. They are an absolutely wonderful resource. And it really helps people because a lot of people will look at literature and not understand how to pull those deeper meanings out. And so this kind of helps a lot with that. To the right, I have databases for research. The big one being MLA International Bibliography. And so this one, you can get pretty much anything you need. And I point out that you can access it with a USF ID, and you can access the articles and books through the USF library more often than not. Additionally, I have a link to SparkNotes Literature Guides, which provides a lot of core information for different books. That way, if you're kind of struggling with a theme, this is a great source for you to look at the different themes and kind of see, evidence that attaches to it and get a better idea to strengthen your research. Finally, I have the literary theory and criticism section. And so this is a much more involved section because literary theory and criticism is much more involved. So, to start, I have literary theory in general, the volume 9, 6, and 4 of the Cambridge History of Literary Criticism, which goes over 20th, 19th, and 18th century literature. I could have gone further back in time, but for a beginner writing literary analysis, these are the key time periods that they're going to be looking at. So next up, and I'm going to go two at a time, I've got feminism. I have an article and 2 books listed to help understand feminism as a literary theory. And then to the right, I have 2 sources also available at the USF library. Everything is available through USF for reader response theory. Moving forward, I have gender and queer theory and Marxism. And so I have 2 sources for gender and queer theory. I have an article and a book, 2 books for Marxism. Moving on to formalism and structuralism, I have 3 books on formalism and 2 on structuralism, and some of these books are repeating depending on if they talk about both or 2 different theories versus just one. And past that, I have psychoanalytic theory and post-colonialism. And so these are some of the more popular theories talked about in literature classes, and these sources would be able to help students gain a deeper understanding than what they're getting in class, to better understand, where they want to come from in their literature, in their research. So through all of that, I have the 30 sources required for this project. LibGuide was overall a much easier software than I was expecting for it to be to use, which is amazing, and I really did enjoy working with it. I hope that this works for what we were required to do. I think that I've done a relatively good job at covering all of my bases. Again, I did not include any examples of literary analysis because for somebody who is looking to learn how to write one, it might be a little bit overwhelming to see one that was published in a journal, peer-reviewed, looked over. They're going to think, oh my goodness, I could never get that far, whereas this doesn't give them that expectation. And so their expectation is just, I'm looking at this to help me and I can move forward from there. I really think that the most valuable tool in this LibGuide is the USF Writing Studio link. I did very much tailor this to the USF student because I think that's really important, and I do love being a student here. And as somebody who is a grad assistant and who was a Writing Center employee, this project was everything I could have wanted it to be. So thank you so much for watching my presentation, and have a great rest of your day or night, depending on whatever time it is.